I'm gonna get back to that story, Sonny. Just, just you listen to Boomer, great one. He's gonna tell you about how it was back in the olden days, back before fire, back when we walked uphill for everything. In fact, we didn't even have a concept of downhill because there was no downhill. Everything was uphill. We thought that was normal. We didn't even have a word for it because there was no alternative. It was uphill all the time. You just need to reach down and grab yourselves by your bootstraps and pull yourselves up, sonny. Because when I was your age, I bought a house for $25,000. And I made that money on my paper route and bussing tables at the local cafe. And if I could do it, you can do it too. You just need to reach down and pull yourself up and just buckle up there, buckaroo. God, I hate boomers.
I am aware of the hypocritical nature of me talking about culture, refinement, and taste. Meanwhile, I'm wearing a sweater that reeks of cigar smoke, a Buc-ee's hat, and I'm about to go for a hike. You don't even want to know what the lower half of me is dressed like, although maybe some of you ladies do. Anyway, I am aware I look like shit right now, but I had finally, I got more topics than I got life expectancy. I was at my grandmother's funeral 2 days ago. Grandma Clary passed away. 97-year-old, great life, had it till the end. No, who am I? Who are you? It was just an elegance and grace and a wonderful woman. But you got to wear a suit. So I dusted off and right over there, dusted off the old suit that I haven't worn in probably 11 or 12 years. And then, I'm in the suit, and then you see people you haven't seen in ages. And my aunt was there. She's like, "Oh my God, look at you. You're so handsome." She's like, "God, I love you." I know you got to say it, but God bless you. But I'm in my suit, Can't be working out consistently. Half a century old, this man is almost. Half a century old. Look at me. I'm pretty good looking. But, you put on a suit. Holy shit, you're not this pajama wearing podcasting idiot with your Coke bottle glasses. You almost look like a decent man. Women might want to fuck. Holy shit. So it dawned on me that didn't happen. My suits. I'll tell you two stories. I'll tell you another story. So the Mall of America was relatively new when I moved to the Twin Cities to go to college. It was still a new thing. And they had a lot of clothing stores, particularly for men. And not bad. They had fashionable, like modern day fashion suits on the cheap. Like you couldn't afford Men's Warehouse, so there was a spate of cheap suits that you could buy at the store. I'm talking for like under $100. You could get an okay suit. Now, only to refine dickheads from Edina or Winnetka with it. Oh, that's not an Armani. Ha 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 ha. But if you just needed a quick, cheap suit for an interview, you would go to this place. I had no idea about tailoring. I bought this pine green suit as it was in the fashion in the 90s. Everyone means Tim the Tool Man. I had a Tim the Tool Man Taylor suit, man. And then 90s ties, they're still fashionable. Man, I was the cat's meow. I looked like a fucking refugee. The suit was too big. It wasn't formed or fitted. And that probably ended up costing me when I went into interviews. I remember long ago interning, and one of the bankers, one of the few nice ones, is like, "You're not supposed to button the bottom button." I'm like, "What?" "You're not supposed to bottom the bottom button." I'm like, "Okay, you know what I do now? I bottom the bottom button because it's fucking there." But the whole point was I had no idea of having a suit tailored. And to be perfectly honest, I probably couldn't afford to have it tailored at that moment in time. So I had this baggy, oversized suit. Just I'm sure in hindsight, I look like a fucking idiot, but I didn't know. You know why I didn't know? Well, one, because I didn't have, dad around. And I had a dad, but he did sit me down and have the talk. Hey, you got to put on the suit and you got to have it. Christ almighty, maybe he didn't even know. Your moms don't know shit about this. All right. They don't know. They're worthless when it comes to men's fashion. Uh there wasn't anyone telling me. I was too busy working security, getting by food, clothing, shelter. I didn't read Gentleman's Quarterly or know anything about fashion. Like, oh yeah, you get a suit and da, but it's you're doing 95% of the work, right? And you think, well, I just get a suit. And you know it's gotta kind of fit, right? But you didn't know about fitting and tailoring. But it's that 5% that makes all the difference. All right. And that 5% is the refinement. That's your taste. That's your culture. Everyone gets a car. That's 95% of it. What kind of car did you get if you wish to impress people, socially speaking? And so if if you're focusing on I gotta make rent, I gotta get food, you're stuck in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. These finer points they escape you. But you do need to know these finer points because it's the difference between you important things, getting a job, not getting a job, maybe getting a scholarship, not getting a scholarship, getting the date, not getting the date, whatever. All your interaction, it's that 5% that really matters. I'm going to tell you another one, not about fashion, but about taste. I was 24, maybe 23. I can't remember. I was a younger man as opposed to being older. And there was this horror movie that came out, and it starred Donald Sutherland, among other people. It was like some ship out in the sea, a bio lab went wrong, and then the machines had melted with the humans that took over. And the girl I went on the date with to go see this movie, I was just excited to see the movie. And we go there, we watch it, and we're walking out. And she says, "What do you think of the movie?" I thought, "Oh, it was really good." And then I remember tall, bigger black guy with his wife or his date. I say, "Yeah, it was a really good movie." Look, he just says, "Man, if you thought that was a good movie, you're gonna be real happy with the rest of the movies you watch for the rest of your life." And I didn't understand. And what I realized is it wasn't that the movie was good. I can't even remember if the movie was good. I mean, it was all right, and I didn't have the refinement or the eyes of tates or the tastes. It was that I just got to go to the movie. I had been so busy, work, school, all that other shit. I didn't have time to go to the movie. Whereas the guy who critiqued me, he was older, so he'd probably seen more movies. He's probably a little bit more financially established. The girl I was dating was very attractive, and so everybody paid everything for her. She never really had to really work, I think, in her life. I mean, she had a job, but she just had more. She could consume more movies. But if you are poor and you are just, which most of you, most of us start out at step one, level one. It's called PO. That's where we start. All right. And yeah, movies are nice. And sure, tailored suits would be nice too. But we have more pressing matters like food, clothing, shelter. And if you're not trained and you're not couth, and no one says this is the quickest way out of poverty, go major in this thing, kind of the stuff of the wisdom we pass along here to get you out of poverty quickly. You're so ensconced in surviving and so rarely get out. You don't consume enough culture. You don't get enough trial and error. You just don't have the gym time, metaphorically speaking, in the social world, in the non-working world, that you start picking up on things like culture and class, refinement. And so I took a note here because I want to make sure. And here's the issue. It's kind of like being a kid, right? My nieces, Lucifer and Geronimo, everything is amazing. Everything is awesome. Right now they're getting a little older, so now they're starting to like discern, like, I don't want to do that anymore. All right. But the great thing about watching everything was new. Do you want to go play in a puddle? Do full-grown adult men play in puddles? No, they don't, unless you got some nieces with you. You could throw them in the puddles and you jump in the puddle, you got an excuse. All right, but you don't play in puddles. But to a 2-year-old, it's fucking heaven. It's new. Hey, you want to impress little kids? Here's all you do. You go down to the gas station. You get the day-old bread for $1, right? gas station bread, like the lowest common shit bread. You go to a swamp or a pond and you feed the fish, and the fish jump up and tear up the bread. Those kids are going to have the greatest time in their life. I mean, maybe that might be kind of fun for a day too. I get, but that might get a little bit old as an adult. Mm. And so, as a kid or an adult who's been too busy surviving and not going out there and going to movies, going to nightclubs, like, someone comes to the United States, like, oh, I've never been to a nightclub, never been to a country bar. I'm like, all right, we'll go to a country bar. Right? They get the experience. Oh, okay, yeah, it's this, and then they go back home. It's kind of the same thing here. So the rule is everything that is novel is not good. And because if you started out Paul and you had to work your way through, you're not getting the experiences either in the number or early on in your life that you kind of mature or grow with your generation. I don't mean in a mature, responsible sense. I mean that you grow and mature in terms of tastes and experiences, like music. Although I think largely you could throw music away because music is pre-made for your generation, or at least it was. Now you got the internet, so now I don't know if anyone really makes music. But you could see where it was the taste, and now you go to the Milli Vanilli concert, and now you go to the Vanilla Ice concert, and then you come back with the shirt. And then maybe when you're old, you might get your own refinement. But if you, I didn't have tape players are the thing. I didn't have a boombox / tape player until I was 14. I had no idea what the musics were. So if you had asked me, I would not have the culture or the refinement to say, oh, yeah, I like Iron Maiden. They're the ones that sound just the same way as Metallica does, and Slayer, and all the other death metal rock hair bands. Yeah, the Roses and the Guns, those guys I like too. I like their song, "Wah!" And in hindsight, now y'all know it's true. Fucking people actually discern and discriminate. Oh, yeah, that band is different than that one. Sure it is. Right, okay. Here's a Milli Vanilli tape. Perhaps you'd like it. I know. All the bands I mentioned actually did play their music, and they were good musicians, just the same fucking shit. It was. Oh, my God, did I just piss off everybody? Sometimes it helps to be unaware what the kids are doing. Like, I'm sorry, I got to work, and I can't afford a boombox to buy the latest song called... Hey, man, no, you don't understand. I hope you remember 1988. I hope you're still living there. Reagan was president, huh? Yeah, okay, sure. So this presents you young, poor people. Okay. Yes, you got to work, food, clothing, shelter. Yeah, you got. But if you don't get your culture, tastes, and refinement up, it's going to cost you in several opportunities. Yeah, okay, I gave an example of a job interview or a date, but you're just going to be socially awkward. You're going to be a bit ostracized, not even negatively. You could be like, oh my God, that was a great movie. Now I look back and I'm kind of was embarrassed. I'm like, oh, geez, I didn't know. I thought that was a great movie. No, it was just because I got to go to a movie. There've been people looking like, man, this guy's off. He doesn't have taste. All right, so this is not mission critical, but it is something that you're going to have to do. You're going to know, well, how do I get refinement and taste? Well, it's going to take a while. It's just going to take time. But like, how do I get muscles? Well, it's going to take time and effort over time. But you can inevitably get refinement and taste. And I don't want it's not like I say, you do these 5 things, you're going to have refinement and taste. But you got to go get some effort. You got to go get some taste. All right. So a couple things. First, this is a great rule. Whether you're trying to be cultured or refined and you don't want to sound like an idiot or you don't know, generally, shut up. That's a pretty good rule. If you don't know, shut up. People are talking about something and you may have seen a movie or you thought, like, I thought it was a really great movie. Well, I don't know. It's kind of scary. Shut up. You don't have the treadmill time to make an observation about it. The second thing, consume a bunch of culture. Now, by no means do I mean you go consume slop or filth. All right. You don't watch modern day movies. There's no reason to. You don't have to watch modern girl boss movies, but it does help It does help if you start watching some good movies. Now, here anyone can make their own list, but I'm going to give you a couple, right? I'm going to give you genres so you can watch these movies and at least in the movie category, be like, okay, that's a good movie. That's a shit movie. And really, again, as a young man, especially, but ladies too, ask yourself, am I enjoying this movie because it's good? Or am I enjoying this movie because I've never seen it before and it's novel, which is very common among poorer or younger people. And another thing, I rarely watch a movie twice. Buddy of mine, I was young. I'm like, why don't you watch the movie twice? He's like, I've already seen it. And it was, I know it sounds a minor observation, a minor epiphany, but it's an important one. Why would you watch the same movie twice? Unless it's such a pinnacle work of art, like Once Upon a Time in the West or Die Hard, or I'm sure everyone has their favorite movies. You really should only be watching a movie once, and being compelled to watch the movie again. So this is going to take a while. It's not a hard chore, but I'll give you a bunch of movies. I'm sure other people list the movies down below, and here's where you start. So you want to watch spaghetti westerns. Not all of them. There's a lot of them. There's Once Upon a Time in the West. There's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. There's A Fistful of Dollars, A Few Dollars More. I think you get, oh, Duck You Sucker. I think you get those 5 pretty good to go. Okay. And I would say the pinnacle one of that would be The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but they're all good. Kind of the same genre, but it was an American production, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Right. Keep in mind, these movies, you may not like Westerns. That's not the point I'm having you watch these movies. I'm having you watch them. It's like here's another example. When I was a kid, of course, times were different then. Man, McDonald's was a treat. That was a big thing. And then as I got older, even when I was in college, I never ordered one pizza. Couldn't afford it. I did go to McDonald's 3 times. And usually it was over Christmas break because the cafeterias were closed and I was on patrol. So, oh my God, McDonald's. I remember, I've told it before, the Asian Taiwanese princess pain in the ass was pissed off because I couldn't afford Devani's. Devani's, which most of you don't have, is like a step up from Subway, but this ain't no 5-star dining. I couldn't afford Devani's. Only rich people. Even to this day, I know you're all going to laugh. Even to this day, Perkins it's still like a piece of me like, well, that's kind of luxurious. That's a sit-down place, right? You're not going to impress a girl taking her to Perkins unless she, well, not now. Perkins sucks, but Perkins was fun. It was a good time. It's the same thing there. If all you've done is eaten McDonald's or EBT chicken tendies that you got over at the 7-Eleven because your mom just spat out a bunch of half related siblings, all right, you're taking the chicken tendies from the EBT, putting in your armpit, saying, God dang, life is swell, which there's a nice charm to that. There's a nice innocent charm. But when you go out into the real world and say, let's go to 7-Eleven to get chicken tendies and put them in our armpits, most of the people are going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Look at this guy. All right. Now, nothing wrong with McDonald's or Taco Bell. We've all been there. Those are glorious times because we were young and we thought we were going to get laid. And that's why those times are colored optimistically. Right. Shit. What was I going with fuck. I had it. And then I went off on the food thing. God darn it. There's so many things. I think like the fashion of food and all that. Oh, that's right. I was going through places consumption to get your taste up. So you got movies, all right? Same thing with food. You may not be able to afford it, but maybe try a sushi every once in a while. All right? Maybe learn about here. Another thing. I didn't know about the different cuts of steak literally until about 10 years ago. I would go to the grocery store, steak, flank steak, this is good. Chuck, that's good. There is a difference between a ribeye, a filet mignon, a T-bone, and a New York strip. There is. Now, I recommend one day you grill one at a time over the course, but that's the shit I'm talking about, okay? You just, "Oh my god, like, I can't wait to go to the Outback Steakhouse." That's it's like, yeah, that is a pretty good medium stage restaurant. There you okay, that's but that ain't fine dining, that ain't Ruth Chris. It almost would pay you to go get a New York strip at the grocery store and grill it, go to Outback Steakhouse, and then go to some place like the Ruth's Chris, right? But that's an aside. Anyway, so another path that you could see in terms of food where refinement, there's a whole levels you're unaware of. Back to the movies. So there's the spaghetti westerns, all right? You got those. In terms of action flicks are kind of action. I know Die Hard is an excellent movie. You should all watch that because you're not an American otherwise. But things that require a little bit more thought, Casablanca, Midnight Run, uh, Rain Man. Try to think of very good movies. Um, what the hell are my favorite movies? I guess we could go with TV shows like Cowboy Bebop. That is excellence in anime. They don't all have to be movies. Yeah, Once Upon a Time in the West. I'm just trying to go through what I got. God, there should be people got a bunch of them they're listing them. Run Silent, Run Deep. Oh, the World War II movies. There's another entire genre. The Great Escape. Kelly's Heroes. You need to watch Kelly's Heroes. It's a great movie. Not World War II. Great fucking movie. Great fucking movie. Tropic Thunder. You need to watch Tropic Thunder. And then, what is it? The Guns of Navarone. You need to watch it. Where Eagles Dare. The Longest Days. It's a long movie. That one's a little longer. But those classic World War II ones, you gotta watch those. Like, oh, okay, this is a good story, and this is good. Then on top of that, even though they aren't necessarily the best movies, there have been actors that kind of give you something to shoot for. And whereas most guys would eschew these type of movies, what you gotta do is watch these old classic 1950s to 1960s romantic comedies. They'd star people like Bridge Over the River Kwai. Sorry, another World War II one that you must watch. But there was a handful of these actors that would do romantic comedies, and they're actually kind of charming. They're not that hard to watch. You'll probably enjoy them. But you should study the mannerisms of these guys. You can't study what they say, and that's been the most impossible thing. People are like, well, I'm trying to be like Cary Grant. No, Archibald Leach, who is the real name of Cary Grant, he got lines. He got lines. And the woman had lines. These conversations don't take place in the real world. That doesn't mean you shouldn't, in some way, fashion yourself after these guys to have a little bit of charm and refinement. James Bond, speaking of which, a bunch of movies you should watch. Okay, Roger Moore, a little more campy and funny. But Sean Connery, out of all the James Bonds, you should take notes from. It should be Sean Connery. They're all charming in their own regards, but Sean Connery was the best. He was always just a little playful, always just a little fun and smirky. Right? Written that way, don't become Daniel Craig. No offense to Daniel Craig. He's an actor. He's playing out the brooding. You don't want to be the pissed off, moody James Bond. You want to be the serious James Bond who just has a little twinkle in his eye who's like playful. One of the greatest scenes. Thunderball. Okay, this is set up. But you got to be able to be on your game and be a little bit playful. One of the best scenes in all of James Bond, especially Sean Connery, he's in the tropics somewhere south, and with the redhead female assassin with big old bitties. He hears someone's in his apartment when he walks in. So he gets his gun out and he bursts open the door in the bathroom, and here's this redhead with tig old bitties and bubbles all covered over her. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, did I disturb you? And he's like, oh, no. Gosh. And he sits down and he's just talking like, because he knows she's the bad girl and she knows he knows, but they got to play the thing out because that's what made James Bond James Bond. He says, could you get me something to wear? Because she's going to get out. Certainly. And he grabs her a pair of shoes and puts it down, just sits back and looks at it. Just the face. Just, of course, here. Now, that would be reasoning and you'd get arrested and the male game. There are some girls out there that would appreciate that charm, but that's the type of thing you got to aim for. Now, you don't got a script, but you can watch these guys. I'd recommend a ton of Cary Grant movies too. His Girl Friday, The Bachelor and the Bobby Soxer, To Catch a Thief is a must. That's where he's probably his most refined and most polished. Some of he's funny too, and oh my goodness, is that for me, Jody? But kind of watch him. Then you get like Gregory Peck, a little bit more of a serious actor, but there's a whole spate of them, a whole spate. And if you consume enough of them, not only are you going to find them charming and intelligent. Oh, The Odd Couple, good movie. You got to watch that too with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. Charlie Varick is another one. These are all good movies. They're not romantic comedies. But if you consume a fair amount of these 50s and 60s romantic comedies, you're going to get an idea. You're going to, and it's not that you're going to wear a suit all the time and look like Cary Grant and know the exact same word to say the exact same time, but you start to carry yourself a little bit like that. You'll start to have little witticisms. And I watched those back when I was like a teenager, right? And I'm not joking. To this day, that has helped me with conversation. You're always looking for that appropriate, slightly witty. Could you give me something to wear? Of course. And you give them that, get the girls to laugh. However, it would also help in general social and party situations. So that's another way to culture refine. And then on top of it, and the reason I'm recommending movies is you get to hear and see everything. There's the fashion. Now, men don't wear suits no more. Women don't wear dresses, right? But you'll get it. That doesn't mean the fashion has gone out. And you start looking, Cary Grant suits from the 1930s are still in fashion today. Like peak fucking fashion. A good modern one. Down with Love, where they did a spoof, a modern day romantic comedy. Ewan McGregor and Renee Zellweger, who had a phenomenal performance. David Hyde Pierce. That's if you don't like the old ones, go watch that one. All right. And that should give you an idea between the sexes, how to be social. Like it gives you a blueprint. You may not end up exactly like it, but it gives you something like, okay, here's how people High Society. One of the few musicals I enjoy. High Society. Robin and His Seven Hoods is all right too. The original Ocean's 11 is good. These are all Rat Pack. It's all there. You start with consuming that, and you're not really going to fail. And that's going to kind of give you a quick and short and understandable education. Like, okay, this is classy. This is refined. And I'm not going to become Frank Sinatra, but there's some traits and aspects of Frank Sinatra that I could definitely put into my own, I want to say change of personality, but my own demeanor and behaviors. Then consuming all these movies, it's going to be like going to a buffet and eating a lot of good food. And then you're going to say like, holy shit, I didn't realize there was such good food. I didn't realize there was such good fashion. I didn't realize there was such good mentally stimulating works of art, which is what a movie is. I'm not going to waste my time with whatever the hell the movie was I saw with Donald Sutherland. I'm going to discern, and this is important because if you're just going to go for what's ever novel, you're going to go for a shit ton of things. And maybe there's some truth that you got to consume a lot of shit to start appreciating the good stuff. I'm trying to save you time. So think going to a movie. If it ain't good, it was a waste of time. That's 3 hours of your time gone. More if you ended up paying for your date. I'm trying to get you to the point where you're like, okay, I can't be consuming garbage just because it's novel. And I have to think about things a little bit more like, okay, is this actually good or is it just novel? And if it isn't good, or if I can assess it's not good, then I'm not going to waste my time on it. And I'm not saying you need a budget to go to fancy movies or fancy dinners or get fancy clothes, but you do limit your time. If you skip over 3 meals at McDonald's because you know it's shit, to then go maybe, well, I'm going to go try, here's another thing. I'm going to go try that Vietnamese place that's in the corner. I know it's a little more pricey than Taco Bell. I'm going to try it. All of a sudden, now you know where there's a really good, assuming the food was good, that's a really good Vietnamese place. Now you know where to take a date. And it's not going to be like, well, what's wrong with Devani's? What's wrong with Perkins? Like a stupid, dumbass 23-year-old Cappy would do. You want to go to Perkins? It's really nice. You know, this little hole, you know, this little area that's different and it's good. Maybe it might be pricey, but it shows refinement and taste. And then another thing about refinement and taste, and I did touch on this a little bit. And again, a lot of this just comes with age, but what I want you to do is focus on identifying what's not the best, what's not the greatest, what you should skip in terms of culture, in terms of fads as well, whether it's fashion or hairstyles or whatever else like that. If you have good tastes, if you have refinement, it's going to save you a lot of money and time down the road. And let me give you an example. All right. Everyone likes to give me shit because I get most of my clothes at Goodwill. But when I go dress up, all of a sudden, man, you look good. You clean up nice. Yeah. But do you know what? Most of the clothes are from Goodwill. Now, not my suits, maybe perhaps, but I find most of my clothes at Goodwill. You can find good clothes at Goodwill. And if you have taste, long-term taste, not I'm buying the Milli Vanilli shirt and the Iron Maiden skull decaying on a motorcycle shit. If you say, well, that shirt is nice. I haven't done this in the past. It wouldn't hurt for you to go to a classic art museum. Classic, not modern. Modern is shit. Modern's where little Nepo babies like, what's his name? Dean Phillips over in Minnesota or Mark Dayton go and they do shit. Biden's kid. That's where talentless hacks go to throw up vomit on a piece of paper and then a bunch of people launder money through buying ugly art. You got to go to a classic art museum, color coordination, fashion, beauty, intelligence, design, pattern recognition. Like, oh, okay. Wouldn't hurt you to go there. Wouldn't hurt for you to look through an art book of good art, not shit art. So that when you start going out and buying things that are visual, for example, your clothes, that $3 pair of pants at Goodwill would go really good with that $5 shirt over there. And then you come walking out and all your friends make fun of you because you're shopping at Goodwill, even a little bit to this day. Half a century old, and here I am free because I didn't piss away my money on fancy clothes all the time. I bought nice clothes, good clothes for cheap. And then you go out, you're like, whoa, nice shirt. Whoa, nice. Wow, what? Goodwill. No. Yeah. I have taste. Good things do not have to be expensive. And I'll tell you where taste saved me a lot of money. A lot of money. My house. All right. I had an idea. I was 46 or so when I had to start thinking about the house. Up until 4 years ago, most of the furniture, my belongings were either hand-me-downs or shit I got at Goodwill. I never bought furniture. I had some posters maybe I've carried with me, some artwork I've had with me since I was in college. Some of it is like family stuff like, yeah, we're moving. Do you want this? I'm like, yeah, I want this. Don't throw it. I like this picture. So Cappy also moves into a house. He's not living in a one unit of a triplex he owns. He's in an actual fucking house with a garage. I remember I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna have enough walls for all the stuff I got. And, da, da, da. And so I start putting up art, and I'm like, you know, a wall and a half is furnished. I'm like, oh shit. And then let's talk about furnishing. I'm like, okay, well, we got the hand-me-down couch from the GF's brother. It's a really comfy couch. What do we do with, I got to get couches, tables. I've never had a dining kitchen table, never. I had to get one. You know where I got most of it? Facebook Marketplace and Walmart.com. The couches I got were the style I wanted. I went a mid-century modern type of theme. I think I found the whole set, Walmart. I can't sing the praises enough. You want furniture? Go to Walmart.com. $600. You go to an actual fucking furniture store, that same shit, even IKEA on the cheap end, more or less the exact same style of couch I wanted, $2,000. That's IKEA. And then the kitchen table, I actually got a kitchen table. I'm like, I'm just getting tired of sitting on a fucking couch with a coffee table where I have my laptop and like, no, I want a dining table to sit the fuck down and have food. And so I found one lady in town, and I had to move the glass and all that. I think I picked it up for $100. Now I got this nice dining table, and it goes with the house. Color coordination, right? Again, this didn't come from watching movies, but maybe it did. Looking at all the fancy Hollywood sets they were filming at, watching a little bit of James Bond. I'm like, I like the minimalist approach there, black and white trim. And then we're going to use colors to pop. Oh, here we are. Here we are. Anyway, when you get to your house, or you need to furnish something, or you need to pick out clothes, if you have taste, you could go find shit that's used, cheap, or whatever. But when you put it together, it's got class. It's got refinement. No one's come to my look. I've furnished my house cheaper than most of my friends out here. They come to my house, they think I'm wealthy. I'm like, no, dude, this all costs like below $3,000. I mean, it really is, and it only looks good because I have taste. Now, it took me a while. If you visited me any previous place I've lived before, you'd be like, wow, this is kind of like you did get this at welfare at Savers, didn't you? Right? But with taste and refinement, your clothes are going to be cheap but look good. Your furniture, your abode, where you live, which is very important, is going to look good, and you're going to be in a better mental state. And then socially, when you go out, okay, yeah, it. And here's where you don't want to be a conformist. You don't want to be popular, but you do want to kind of strike out on your own. Let me tell you about a place called Mancini's. All right. I was biking around. I was 20 at the time. I wasn't even old enough to drink. And I biked past this place called Mancini's. It's a steakhouse in St. Paul. And I looked at the exterior. I'm like, that's got an interesting look to it. It kind of has this like 1950s kind of look to it. I poked my head in. It's still there. Red leather seating, brass rails all over, 1950s to 1970s lighting. It's a time machine. It's beautiful. And they got lounge singers and cheap drinks. It's an old school Italian steakhouse in St. Paul, and one of the few places, if you go to the Twin Cities, you should visit. I mean, I do mean few, 3 places. That's one of them. All right. I took the time, hop off my bike, walked in to look at it. Who do you think dude, do you know how much that taste, that refinement? I wouldn't say class. Class is, I guess, a little bit different. But the fact I took the time to be different, poke my head into a different looking joint, like, oh, this is kind of a cool joint. And then I brought my friends there. And then I'd bring dates there. And then I'd bring my dance classes there for field trips because there was a dance floor. Yes. Now you got culture. Now you have taste. You're a different person, and you're different in a good way, not because you got shit piss taste and you think any movie is good because it's a movie, but you've tried something different. You found out it's really cool. Now you're getting character. You're starting to get color. And so, kind of like the Vietnamese place, like, I want to try that place. A lot of trial and error. And restaurants are kind of iffy because they keep going in and out of business. I'm going to try that coffee store. I'm going to poke my head into that bar. That bar looks interesting. This restaurant looks different. And if you do that, especially when you're younger, you don't have to buy anything. You just got to poke your head in. You're like, whoa, this place is really cool. It's a little bit different. They got a piano bar and a lounge singer, and now that's kind of fun. And then you take a girl there, or you take your friends there, and you're not going to the same nightclub or the same old bar and the loud music and all that. You're not going to a frat party where there's beer spilled on the floor and it's just, oh, but this is where we go. The game is on. We want to go to the sports bar with the game. Versus the guy, seriously, think about it. People who are popular, people who conform, you're going up against a 24-year-old, right? There's one girl, you and the other guy, you're both 24, you're going after this 23-year-old girl. Typical guys, well, go watch the guy. And then you're like, hey, I know this lounge, and they got pretty good food, and it's like a throwback to the 60s. You want to check it out? You're the guy. And now all of a sudden, you're different. Now, you might have to spend a little bit more than going to the sports bar, but perhaps not if it's a new sports bar. But having that taste, having that refinement puts you above other people. Another example. I think most of us always knew there was always a guy. And it's not that he dressed better, right? A lot of people can dress better, but they just had a style, right? I put Troy Francis up there. Now, of course, he's got the British accent, and it's on talent on loan from God, to quote Rush Limbaugh. But if you look at Troy Francis's style, yes, it's fancy, but look at it's like there's a bit of panache he's got, a little bit something different. And I knew another guy, his name was Paul. Paul was 5'3", short guy. Boy, he made up for it in every other category in class. This guy was smooth. He could dance. He had girls on the dance floor. And the guy had this sense of fashion that was his own. You couldn't replicate it. He just fucking pulled it off. He was like a short uh, John Travolta in Disco Fever or Dance Fever, whatever the hell that movie was. It wasn't that good to begin with. That's not on your list. You don't have to see that. There, you've seen the movie. I just did the whole thing. I reenacted it for you there. But it wasn't pure John Travolta. It was Paul. Stood out. And I don't think he spent a lot of money on it. And so I know I'm kind of meandering and all that, but we're talking about things that are amorphous, but still count. This is what humanity is. Like, yeah, you can get the money. You could be 6 feet tall. You can work hard. You could repeat and parrot popular things. That's not going to make you human. And it's not going to get you to the cutting edge of refinement and culture and class that I would say not only do you need to be in order to gain advantages that has to being a cultured, taste, refined person, but you're also going to live a better life. But to get there, there's no direct path, which again, where it's meandering, it's going to take some time. But even though I don't have this is the exact thing you got to do to become like Cary Grant, I can say if you consume this material, if you go out and look, if you pay attention to this, there might even be some books like Emily Post, who's passed away. There might be books out there. What isn't it? There's a website, very popular website. masculinity something, where they talk about shaving and men's grooming and all that. I don't want you to go too far where you're coiffing your hair and wearing cufflinks. Now peeing get touched. It has to be specific to your individual. It must be filtered through your own personality and your own psychology. But there's yeah, like I'm sure there's videos on how to find a tailored suit, right? Absolutely consume that stuff. Probably resources I'm unaware of that are out there. You should put your time into, let's list a couple of things to start with, all right? Suits and tailored suits, right? You need to know why they got to be fitted. Know that a good, simple, black, double-breasted suit gonna go a long way. I'm also gonna recommend to all you boys, in about 7 months, when prom is over, go to the tuxedo rental places, go buy yourself the used tuxedo for, well, in my 1994, I remember, I bought a tuxedo, $100. You will use that tuxedo several times. It will be one of the best investments you can make. So learn a little bit about fashion. Don't go too off into the deep end, but learn a little bit about fashion. Consume all those movies I told you about so you know what a good movie is. You get culture, you get views on fashion as well, especially the romantic comedies with James Bond and all that. I'm sure other people have some good movies they recommend down below as well. But so that is gonna school you up on culture, what's funny, what's intelligent, what's clever. Tropic Thunder alone, if you don't get why that's funny, you need to keep watching it, right? That would be a test on whether or not you develop a funny personality, whether you get humor. That's a whole other thing unto itself that I can't. Here's another one you might want to do. Watch comedians, good ones. Bill Cosby. I know, I don't care what he did. The humor is hilarious. Bill Burr, Richard Pryor. There are many others. What's the Italian guy? Scopaliamano or something like that. He's good. You don't have to watch the female comedians. Unless it was Carol Burnett. Okay, I'll go you old school on that. When it comes to restaurants, that's expensive. I got it. Poke your head in. Go look around for something a little bit different. Go into the little Asian hovels or the Mexican hovels, the little tucked away. Try the food. Find a good place. Right. I know it sounds Cappy's dumb, but I'm not, guys, I was in my 40s. I'm like, there's different cuts of meat. You don't have to, but you should know, just so you got an idea. Flank steak, filet mignon, ribeye, New York, T-bone. And I don't think they're in that order. But go look. I don't even know what's better. I think filet mignon is the highest end, flank is the bottom, and then I don't know the rankings. I like ribeye because it's got a little fat on it. That's all I know. I don't know where it ranks, but you should kind of know, like, oh yeah, see, there's this other system out there. Not that you're going to order steak all the time. I'm just saying to get your brain like, oh yeah, there's systems out here. And then I'd start not going to hurt you to start looking at art and start looking maybe old school fashion magazines. I wouldn't say like period stuff like 70s or 80s. The fashion is obviously going to be skewed, but look at if you can find them old like GQ or just look at Cary Grant fashion. And then go out, find a cheap. You don't have to have a fancy suit. Doesn't have to be an expensive suit. Find out where there's a cheap suit like K&G. Before I left the Twin Cities, I'd always get my suits at K&G, and they tailor it on the spot. And they're affordable place. They're still there. I drove past it a month ago. There should be a clothier out there for you, relatively cheap suits for you men. And then, okay, learn how to tie a tie. Learn about a handkerchief that matches your tie. If you want, I'll give you some free advice. You want some free advice? I'll give you some free advice. Ascots. If you can pull an ascot, I got ascots, and they're perfect, man. It's like you walk in there and you're already making a statement like, yeah, I'm one of those motherfuckers. Yeah. And then people look at you, especially your friends if you're a guy, and they like, you cheeky son of a bitch bastard. Look at you. You think you're all that and then some. And they have to make you look good. If you got taste, but an ascot, you put that in there like, yeah, I'm special. Fuck you. I've gone in and like, what are you wearing an ascot? Yeah, I'm wearing an ascot. Like, they're great, man. I love ascots. And then guess what? Then like, I should get an ascot too. Every guy should have ascots. That's just, there you go. So I apologize for kind of the meandering part, but hopefully I gave you guys the concept. All right. You can't just be, yeah, I know. Most of y'all, we start Poe. All right. And you're young and you're stupid and you're running around and da 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 da. You have got to as as quickly as possible, but not the expense of other things. You need to get out of the novel stage. I mean, you can still secretly find things amazing in novel if you like. That's fine. But if you want to start standing out from the rest of people and not in a bad way, like, oh, this guy, you mean you never had a beer? What do you mean you never? I don't know. You think Perkins is good food? You got to go from there to Paul. Who's that guy? Why is he dressed? Man, look at that. And then you ask, like, and then the girls got dude bro Mike. Blah, 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 blah. You just go like, hi, how you doing? My goodness, you're cute. Would you like to go to this Polish singing lounge over here? It's a real great place. Well, you could hang out here if you'd like. I don't know. Music's a little loud. I can't hear a word you're saying. I'd like to get to know you a little bit better. Cappy, was that in a book or a line? No, that's just me on the fly. Never mind. Anyway, I hope that you now know, okay, I got to get on the other side. I got to get refined. I don't need to look like the world's most interesting man, but I got to have taste. I got to have refinement, not only in kind of things I choose to furnish the house with or how I wear clothes or how I comport myself, but personality, taste in terms of consuming things like movies or music or something like that. And then not only will it make you a more interesting person, you're going to have a way better life because there's better shit to watch than whatever crap movies they got coming out now. And you will benefit socially, even financially from that, from being a refined and cultured individual. All right. Oh, I got linked below. Naturopath Economics and Achieving Financial Excellence link below. The only reason I have those linked there is the sooner you get the fuck out of poverty, the sooner you get your finances squared away, a lot easier it then becomes to like, okay, what do I really want to do in life? What do I think is fun? Jeremy Lewis, Hoyle, $5. I recommend Etiquette for Dummies. Okay, good. It gave me enough info on how to participate in events without embarrassing myself or those I'm with. Another one, and I know this is more about socialization, but how to win friends and influence people, especially the part about just asking people about themselves. I've always talked about that where you don't exist. You ask other people about themselves, and for every 3 questions you ask one, maybe you volunteer information about yourself as long as it's germane to the topic of conversation. So we could go into the art of conversation would be something that would be more refined, and definitely something down the road. But there it's in my experience, it's been just being selfless. You don't talk about yourself. Not that you're afraid to. You just know most people want to talk about themselves, and you play to that. Alex Patino, our truck driving Latino agent in the field for $5. I learned that by eating spicy food or too much salt, then you will not enjoy fine wines. Interesting. So I tried not eating spicy for a week. The wine was great. Well, Alex, there's so many aspects and variables to this. I also think for men, you should learn scotches and whiskeys. Not a shit ton, but having and wine would fall into that. So it's not that, oh, that way you can order your woman wine. It's not that. There's just something where it's like, oh yeah, I'll have this kind of you're okay. For you young men out there. And we got the old timers. By old timers, I mean guys in their 30s, like Alex and Plains Warrior. You're at a bar, right? And you don't here's the other thing, you have to be 100% sincere. This can't be fake. This can't be an act. Like, you can't act like Cary Grant. You have to kinda go in and do your thing. You're at the bar, right? You're at whatever, typical bar. Every douche canoe out there is drinking their fucking beer, right? They got their plastic cup and all that. You order a Manhattan, right? You order some kind of scotch. I wouldn't order wine. You get a man's drink. And the girl's like, "What's that?" It's you really want to throw him for a loop. Um, Lefroy 10. Can I try something? Like, sure, let's see if you can handle this because it's a very pungent scotch. She'll try like, oh my God, what the hell is that? Like it's a scotch. What is it? Now you got an opening. Because I'm sorry, there's no culture in fucking beer. I know there's the micro. I know. Scotch, there's a culture. Well, I've been drinking scotch for a while, and this admittedly is a very pungent scotch, but there's others that are like, more entry level. You want to try one? And then you get her whatever, Glenfiddich or an Oban or something like that. And then now you're talking to her. And you know what? You're already more cultured than the other douche canoes. Bro, can I get another Coors Light, bro? Bro. Yeah, but wine would be another thing. The Plains Warrior, $2. Etiquette or finishing schools? Yeah, they don't have them anymore. And those are usually for women. But I'm thinking back in the day, Gentleman's Quarterly GQ was like the Refinement magazine for men. Now it's written by trans and gay activists. It's a dead brand. It's been taken over by a what are they called? A hedge fund or a private equity group. And now it's just right woke, shocking shit, and maybe it's clickbait. Maybe we get it. But I'm sure there was, wouldn't it be not military school? What the hell was it? Boarding school? What I don't know. I'm sure in the day, certainly the upper classes, there was a place men went to get refined. And probably to the level, well, this is a salad fork and it goes to the right, and this is your drinking cup and it goes to I'm not talking that level. It's and as is everything today, you guys, young people, I mean, are gonna have to learn this on your own. You have to be autodidactics because this refinement and art has been lost. You're not gonna get your boomer dad to say, "Oh, yeah, well, you gotta this is why I'm saying go watch the old movies and all that and kind of filter it through your own personality because I don't want you to just become a robot." But I'm sure in the day there was some kinda fishing school. I'm trying to remember the website that's all about how to properly shave. It's got the old 1890s boxing guy for a mascot, and I'm forgetting the name of it. Biscuit, $2. Dapper Power Dapper Power Walker. Yes, I'm the most dapper power walker in all South Dakota. Mr. Innominate, 10 generous dollars. But Cappy, due to economic efficiency losses due to other people wasting time and you having to pick up the slack of or fixing problems, I can't afford culture or luxuries. Well, see, that's the thing. This is not, this isn't for other people. This is for you. All right. I chose dancing because I wanted to learn to dance. That just happened to add a tremendous amount of culture. I enjoy the romantic comedies that if I were to ever start dating a girl again and she's going to come over and Netflix and chill, I'm like, no, we're going to watch Father Goose. All right. Because she'll want to have sex afterward in theory. And I like the show. I like the movie very much. You're doing it for yourself. And that's where the emphasis is. It has to be filtered through you because you think, oh, well, I should do what Cary Grant does in the movie or Humphrey Bogart. No, that's merely something for you to aim for in terms of fashion. But you're going to end up choosing whatever it is you want to do down the road, whether it's highlight or shooting guns or getting into scotch or whatever. It's more the core you and how you carry yourself and the way you converse and interact with other people and the choices you make, which also then define you. Some choices people don't witness. Other choices they are your fashion, where you're going for dinner, even your car, which admittedly I get shit cars all the time, but I have afforded myself the occasional nicer car It wasn't even expensive, but I spent $7,000 on a car. It's an old school piece of shit, but it's beautiful. And people look at it and say, God damn, man, where the fuck did you get that? That's not taught in a movie, but I have a taste. I like that. I'm gonna get that. The dog you choose, if you choose to get a dog. And so it all is inevitably for you. But if you have better taste, you're going to enjoy better things and oftentimes cheaper things. And then you're going to stand out to other people if you care about what other people think about you. Coyote, $5. Scent of a Woman. Good movie. You're right. Good movie. Heat. Also another Al Pacino movie. Scent of a Woman. I love watching the colonel dressing down the educational elites for the kids not snitching. Rusty. Hooah, my friend Charlie. Rusty Fuel, $2. Reading Shakespeare helps. Okay. If you are, conversant in Old English, if you want, go ahead. Michael Vandenberg, $2 Canadian. Wish the world had more Les Grossmans. We need President Les Grossman. Holy shit. Could you imagine if Les Grossman was president? Brands Wingley, $2. Another good date that stands out is stargazing. Oh, if you got the telescope? Yeah. Dude, there was a guy back in Minnesota. You could pay him $5. You could see like Saturn. He had it zoomed in on Saturn one night. It was totally worth it. It was totally cool. It was awesome. Mr. Anominate, $5. Part of taste, culture, and refinement come from your grandparents or parents instructing you. Right. Exactly my point. Well, we got to do this ourselves. Exactly. Joseph Adams, $2. I read Thomas Sowell at coffee shops, My Idea of Fun. There. You're going to stand. Well, now, if a girl was intelligent, she'd look at the cover of the book and say, well, who's Thomas Sowell? But you're doing you. Aggrieved Diplodocus, $2. Some guys like dapper, some guys like casual. Correct. And Rusty Fuel, $5. Good etiquette for men is showing proper respect to the right person at the right time. I'd say so. Again, a good default rule is to just shut up. Just be quiet. I've never regretted being quiet. I have many times regretted opening my mouth. And then soon it'll become, look, I'm 50 years old. I can assess the situation very quickly socially. I know what to say. You can assess it, and a lot of it's just going to be age, but you can look at a gal and say, oh, this lady's in a pissed off mood. I'm not going to talk to her. Here's an old grandma lady who's 2 glasses of wine in. She's a little happy, and you could walk up. Just, look, okay, here. You want another free one? I'm going to give you another free one. All right. Bunch of old ladies sitting at a table. They're having fun and giggling and being happy and enjoying life. You just got to walk in like, is there a beauty pageant going on today? What's going on? And they're laughing, oh, ho, ho, and funny. Another one, except for the guy version, you go into the coffee store, you got all the old guys. And swear to God, there's Herman, the black Vietnam vet, who's got his Vietnam vet cap on. He's there. He's with them all. They're all sitting there. They got their calf-high socks. They're about to drive their Corvette somewhere, go golfing. It's before 7 a.m. You know who these people are. You walk in and say, you guys figure out the world's problems yet? Or you, sure, I'm happy knowing you guys are solving the world's problems right now. You can read them. It takes a little bit. You just good, light humor. Light, slightly poking fun. Like, is the meetings of the mind going well? Good. Okay, let me know when the world's problems are solved. That just being able to read a room too, but it takes a while. All right, there you guys go. I hope the meandering mess that this was somewhat helpful. We hope we point you in the right direction. Link below, Bachelor Pad Economics. Get your financial shit together, then you can focus on this. And achieving financial excellence, a.k.a. why you need a lot less fucking money than you think you do because everyone tells you to keep spending your money on dumb shit. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.